Let's start with the Friday night game, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. It is number 9, Mizzou. It is number 7, Ohio State. Missouri favored by 2.5 points. They play this one at AT&T Stadium in Arlington on Friday night, 8 p.m. East, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. Dan Rubenstein. So, full disclosure, you and I are recording this about a week in advance. And as these things go, certainly on the Ohio State side, there are a number of names that I think we expect to opt out. We are waiting to see if they decide to opt out or go pro. I mean, things change very, very quickly in a short period of time, especially nowadays with the portal and the draft. And we're going to do our best here about a week.
And you remember
advance.
even a couple of years ago with Ohio State, the receivers were a huge question, like leading up to the day of the game. So a lot of it can be last second as well.
So what I find interesting about this, though, with that as sort of the backdrop, if Ohio State were playing at full strength, I checked my computer.
Yeah, of course.
Be favored by about a touchdown in this game. So in my book, to see that Mizzou is a 2.5 point favorite, we're looking at about a line shift of like 9.5, 10.5 points, depending on where you look. Given all those potential opt-outs, the transfers, the key word again is potential because we just don't know. You already know about Kyle McCord. We've talked about Kyle McCord.
Syracuse is Kyle McCord, yeah.
Syracuse is Kyle McCord. Thank you. Right? Say what you will about Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord is an impact transfer. Him leaving in advance of this bowl game is going to have an impact in this football game. Julian Fleming, another one, maybe not the top receiver, but Julian Fleming looks like at time of recording, he's headed back home to the state of PA, going to play for Penn State, but we'll see if that becomes official or not. At time of recording, Marvin Harrison Jr. is still in this game. Marvin Harrison Jr. has got to go pro. He has to go pro. I can't see.
Oh, he will. Yeah.
I can't see any way possible that he's gonna play in this game. He's got to declare for the draft. I fully expect that he's out of this game. Could also be opt-outs from Cade Stover, the tight end, Josh Proctor, the safety, JT Tuimoloau, the defensive end, Michael Hall Jr., the defensive lineman, Tommy Eichenberg, the linebacker. Emeka Igbuka's going to play. Trey Henderson, at time of recording, again, looks like he's coming back for next season. It also sounds like Jack Sawyer, Tyleik Williams, Denzel Burke are going to play on defense for Ohio State. I am only listing these guys out to ask you this. Has that line shifted too much? Has it shifted too much in favor of Mizzou? Because there's a very real chance that Devin Brown could go out there, who's going to have to start at quarterback. They need somebody to play it.
Right.
And if he is as good as some of his teammates have claimed, he maybe plants his flag early on now as the presumed starter going into 2024. Maybe he's really good, and maybe some of these losses that Ohio State could have to deal with don't mean as much as the point spread seems to indicate.
Yeah, there's not much precedent, though, for a quarterback getting his first start in the Cotton Bowl against a very good SEC team. You're like, well, this is who he is, and he's very good immediately, and can't wait to see more of him wherever he is next year, if it's Ohio State or wherever. Not really precedent for that, having your first game in a major bowl game and showing out. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but no, the line does make sense. Maybe the swing is too dramatic, but you lose your quarterback. How many teams are not going to suffer like a clear setback offensively, rhythm-wise, without their starting quarterback? Like, there are only so many cases of going from Jalen Hurts to Tua and not really suffering, or in that case, improving. So I understand the line, and certainly when you talk about motivation, Ohio State loses the Michigan game last year, but they get the playoff berth, so you can see the sort of continued motivation, and they almost beat Georgia. They're up for that game. I don't see how Ohio State, even though they weren't expecting a playoff berth this year, for Ohio State to miss the playoff with a program that has the expectations that it has, certainly it's a come down, obviously, with the opt-outs, with the transfers, with the viewing of the Michigan game as the kind of final game of the year.
Yeah,
right. Mizzou is going into this game with more juice. Now, Ohio State is likely still going into this game with more talent, albeit less proven talent at a number of key spots, including quarterback.
Right.
So I generally err on the side of talent, but in this situation, with how Mizzou showed out against the better teams on their schedule, SEC and otherwise, I still I still worry that Ohio State doesn't have the consistent ability to generate big plays, and that's with Kyle McCord. Without Kyle McCord, they have kind of one-man incredible shows like Marvin Harrison Jr. We'll see if he actually plays in this game, but even the younger receivers can be that. But this was not an especially explosive offense. And the teams that Mizzou lost to this year in the SEC had that ability. And I just think I'm going to go with the team that has its starting quarterback, has star power on offense, made plays on defense, but it wasn't as strong as maybe previous years. I think just Mizzou is going to be so juiced to be there, whereas Ohio State is going to be sort of, I don't know, it's sort of a, this guy's here, that guy's there, this guy's here, that guy's not here, this guy's there. Like, there's an odd, like, buffet quality to Ohio State's roster in this game in terms of star power that I just don't really trust.
It does
I'm going Mizzou.
It does feel a little bit discombobulated.
Yeah.
And that came across to me as well. And I agree. Mizzou's got way more juice. This is a big deal for Mizzou. Eli Drinkwitz coming into this season, we talked about him maybe getting fired.
Yeah.
To have the season they did, to be able to transform the offense in the manner they did, bringing Kirby Moore down, it was very successful. So I give them a lot of credit. And it's basically a full boat for Mizzou. We talk about all of these transfers or opt-outs or NFL declarations that exist on the Ohio State side of things. This is basically full throttle Mizzou.
Yeah.
So I think that in and of itself gives them an advantage. Personally, I'm hoping this line continues swinging in favor of Missouri. I still believe that there is more than enough ammo on Ohio State to keep this one close. So I'm not totally bailing on the Buckeyes. I think the Mizzou defense is gettable, especially if Ohio State can figure out how to throw a deep ball. I think it's gettable, so I don't think this is any kind of runaway train scenario. I'm with you, though. I'm on Mizzou, but it's lower scoring, and it's close. And I think it's something like 24-21. If that line goes to 4, if the line goes to Mizzou plus or minus 4, I'm jumping on Ohio State plus the 4.
Yeah, and if you think it's close, then, I mean, it seems like the edge should go to Mizzou, who has their starting quarterback. So
one would think, yeah.
You would think, and look, maybe Devin Brown is great, and maybe he should have been the answer all along, but I'm still of the belief that Ryan Day is a pretty savvy quarterback evaluator, and he didn't just randomly whiff 2023, but I suppose time will tell.
Yeah, he didn't whiff. It just wasn't C.J. Stroud. It wasn't
right. It wasn't a guy
Fields
who immediately turned around and dominated the NFL. Yeah,
Kyle McCord's going to be fine at Syracuse. He'll be fine.
Okay,
it's an odd move, but he's going to be fine. Okay.